Hi, I'm Eugene and you are on Election Watch. Malaysia goes to the polls this Saturday, March the 8th. It is a good time to remind people what the Malaysian election system is all about. Malaysia basically has a parliamentary democracy modeled after the British system. So we practice a first-past-the-post system, meaning that the candidate with the highest number of votes, even by 1 or by 50 or by 10,000, wins. So after the candidate wins at the place where he is contesting, the number of candidates from a party that wins the most number of seats will then form the government, again by a simple majority system. That is to say, in the Malaysian parliament, there are 222 parliamentary seats. So the party that wins 111 seats plus 1 basically forms the government of the day. But of course, in the Malaysian context, the government has often been formed by a party that has got more seats than the simple majority. Now, interestingly enough, Malaysia doesn't have a two-party system. A two-party system has not evolved like in the British system. But Malaysia has been governed by a coalition of parties under the Barisan Nasional banner. But any party is free to contest in a Malaysian election. And the candidates are basically chosen from the various parties. Anyone who is a Malaysian citizen of 21 years of age and above can actually stand for an election. While the interest is on the parliamentary election, which helps form the federal government, parallel elections are actually held at the state levels. And this is where the different state legislative assemblies are formed, again by the same method of each candidate getting the most number of votes. Now, as we can see from this current election, most of the seats are being contested by 2, if not 3 candidates. Although in some states like Sabah, there are some seats being contested by as many as 8 candidates. So there's actually no limit as to the number of candidates that can stand for each seat. Although in most situations, it is often a candidate from the ruling coalition and one from the opposition. Now, when Parliament is dissolved, Parliament has a lifespan of 5 years. That means to say the government is in power for a maximum of 5 years, and Parliament is required to be dissolved then. But in most situations, as in Britain and many of the Commonwealth countries that practice this system, Parliament can be dissolved at any time by the Prime Minister, and normally it happens when the Prime Minister may feel that it is a good time to go back to the people for a fresh mandate. So in Malaysia this time around, this current parliament has actually only been of 4 years lifespan, but the election, which is the 12th general election for the country, has already been called.
Seri Paduka Baginda yang di-Pertuan Agong telah berkenan supaya Parlimen ke-11 dibubarkan berkuat kuasa hari ini 13 bulan Februari 2008 bagi membolehkan pilihan raya umum ke-12 diadakan seperti yang diperuntukkan dalam Perlembagaan Perkara 55 Perlembagaan Persekutuan.
Now, after Parliament is dissolved, the Election Commission will set a date for the nomination.
Tarikh penamaan calon ialah 24/2/2008 dan tarikh pengundian telah ditetapkan 8 Mac.
And at the nomination day, people who desire to contest will fill in a form, put in the necessary deposit, and if there are no objections to their candidacy, they will then be put on the ballot paper. Now, from the nomination day until election day, that is known as a campaigning period. It varies, but this time around, 13 days have been set aside for campaigning, during which time the candidates can go around to where they are standing and get to meet the people, hold the respective discussions and talk to the people they are trying to attract the votes. Now, interestingly enough, right now we have in the US the primary elections, and people do comment about how come there are no debates between the candidates. Well, this is a kind of a interesting phenomenon in Malaysia where the candidates don't really square off with one another, but rather they take their case out to the public to ask them to vote for them. So in this period of time, there is often a lot of excitement in the streets as the candidate gets to know the voters, and they sort of at the very grassroots level.